I'm a man who believed that I died 20 years ago, and I live like a man who is dead already. I have no fear whatsoever of anybody or anything.
Gary Webb. I am an investigative journalist, and in 1996 I wrote a series of stories entitled Dark Alliance, which was about CIA involvement in drug trade.
I knew a man who once said death smiles at us all. All a man can do is smile back.
We've both been skull and bone, the secret society.
It's so secret we can't talk about it.
What does that mean for America? The conspiracy theorists are going to go on.
I'm sure they are. I don't know. I haven't seen the rest.
Number 322.
I sad duty to report this afternoon that my friend and colleague, Tim Russert, collapsed and died early this afternoon.
I may die in this cell tonight or in the arena tomorrow. I am a slave. What possible difference can I make?
And no official of my administration, whether his rank is high or low, civilian or military, should interpret my words here tonight as an excuse to censor the news, to stifle dissent, to cover up our mistakes, or to withhold from the press and the public the facts they deserve to know.
Hello, welcome again to your favorite weekly call-in parapolitical conspiracy show, Already Dead, which goes on at 9:30 p.m. Eastern on Tuesdays. We're joined, as always, by our illustrious co-host, Austin Picard. And if you guys want to call in, you can do that. Second half of the show, we'll bring on patrons who can field calls with us and shoot the bull. But you guys know the format. Plenty to talk about. Wild week. Complete 180 whiplash for the Trump administration, it seems. Crack and a boom, as it seems, slowly, then all at once. And here we are, Austin. Wild week. What are your thoughts?
My God, buddy. Yeah, it feels like, I find it hilarious that Trump sort of doubled down at the same time with the Democrat hoax angle as well. And then you have Levin doing the rounds, talking about how really he was trying to reinforce the ridiculous narrative of Trump being the FBI's informant after the Mar-a-Lago fallout and just trying to save face and kind of do damage control. And then you have the vanguard of the protector of pedophiles himself, the Alan Dershowitz, who's talking about he's not clinically a pedophile. What are we doing?
Was 17 and 10 months, so he's a pederast. Okay.
Oh my God, man! Like at this point, we are.
Although I don't even. Is that even true? I mean, I think because I think the one he's referring to, I think maybe he might be correct in that he ended up copping up to just the one charge, but obviously he was being accused of more than just the one 17-year-old in 10 months. So it's a stupid trick game. It's the same thing, the same nonsense they do where they go, well, Virginia one time said this one thing in a court case and had to admit this. And you're like, yeah, because that's what happens in legal cases. Like the idea that you're supposed to be like, this happened and therefore that's 100% reality is just kind of fucking retarded.
Exactly. And also I do feel like this is some sort of, false transparency as it has been from day one in many ways, although I will say there's cherry picking involved in terms of the piling on aspect of public perception playing out. And this also kind of ties perfectly into his lame duck session in a way, if you think about it. And also just kind of considering, I believe that every single layer of this has been sort of a controlled release. This there.
Real quick, phone lines are open, 1-833-722-3323. That's 1-833-722-DEAD. Call in, let us know. Tell us your story. But yeah, go on, Austin, sorry.
Oh, you're good, buddy. I just, at this point, I feel like we're supposed to kind of feel disillusioned, which I have for quite some time for as far as the political process is concerned. But I'm almost more concerned with just the level of demoralization and also the kind of low frequency interpretation of much of this, because as always, they're going to in every way exploit and leverage the controlled outcome against any sort of dissenting opinion of any kind that truly links up with how this network was facilitated, and which of the most prominent individuals who were among the perpetrators will obviously be kind of insulated from any real accountability, as always. And we're only, because what really is going to come of any of this, honestly?
Well, they'll stop. They're going to cut off their public engagements, I think, Austin.
Oh yeah.
Did you see Larry Summers? That I don't know, something about it's such a weird euphemism. Everywhere being posted all about that. Larry Summers is indefinitely suspending all public whatever the hell I forget what the term. I literally just said it a second ago, but public whatever. But the idea that I'm not going to show my face in public anymore is just a hilarious way to kind of sanitize that. I'm not going to show my face in public anymore because you guys caught me talking about the logistics of how to cheat on my wife with a young girl that I was leveraging my mentor status with to Jeffrey Epstein. This is the so me as a over 60-year-old man is utilizing some sort of position of authority over a woman and try to get my dick wet, and I'm going to sit here and talk to you about it. So yeah, it's not a former Treasury Secretary too, but go on.
Exactly, but I do think that we're going to kind of see this controlled consequential outcome as well, in terms of the individuals who are hung out to dry, which obviously you have at certain points. I think that much of this is strategic as far as who is being crucified publicly at this moment. And I definitely think, just considering Mark Epstein, the brother of Jeffrey, coming out and claiming that this is all very much going to be sanitized as far as the release specifically, and a lot of the files, and they even addressed that fact as far as the Epstein files bill apparently grants Attorney General Pam Bondi the authority to withhold or redact any material that could endanger national security or jeopardize an active federal investigation. So, as always, they clearly utilize that concept of endangering national security as a justification to withhold information from the public in a vital sort of sense that in many ways.
Real quick, Austin, you may know this. Do you recall what a privilege redaction is? What that means specifically? Have you seen that in any of your digging? Because the reason why I'm asking is because as we're talking about you're talking about the sort of the reasons for redaction stuff. One of the things I covered this morning, one of Obama's top lawyers is apparently caught up in this, and apparently when you get into the weeds of some of these emails that have dropped, there's a number of redactions that specifically and seem to be in accordance with places where her name is mentioned. And it's a very common pattern. We're seeing this privileged redaction. So I'm I remember the article I was reading, they made a point of it. So I didn't know if maybe you knew what that meant, and just obviously just the fact that that broad is even in there at all is kind of nuts. And then on top of that, the redaction might imply something as well. So,
man, there was an Obama mention in the emails as far as just that I directly saw for myself in terms of the Dershowitz, I believe, is the way that it was. I'll pull it in a moment. And
real quick, one little factoid before you forget. This lawyer too was at one point the assistant or the backup executor of Epstein's estate. So this is the level of connection that she has, and she was Obama's top White House lawyer.
This is bipartisan for anyone who's in the dark or still landing perfectly onto the political spectrum ideologically or whatever the case may be. Be under no misconception that this doesn't apply to both sides of the political aisle equally in many ways, and I think that's. Once again, man, it's the ongoing struggle that we face, right? As far as the formidable threat of the structured system and the conceptual kind of just deliberate manipulation that's been socially engineered into us, and in a sort of sense to where we really have to reject it at every turn before we can get back to square one and have any sort of foundation that we can rely upon to really properly interpret any of this. But a privileged redaction allegedly is apparently refers to this process of editing a document to remove sensitive information that is protected by legal privilege, such as attorney-client communications. This ensures that confidential details are not disclosed while still allowing the document to be shared in legal context. So
okay, well, that's important. The privilege is the main thing there is the legal thing, because one of the whole points is it seems like they're almost heavily implying that, if not straight up saying, as I said just a moment ago, was the assistant or co-executor or something, like, well, those are lawyerly positions. And it's kind of like, was this broad who was the top lawyer for Obama, was she also a lawyer for Epstein? I think that's significant, and it's kind of, especially with those privileged redactions, that would totally make sense for that. Like, oh, you got to redact these because there's lawyer stuff here. But yeah, okay. Well, that checks out. That perhaps, while Obama, this might even have been while he was in office, that he was also having the same fucking lawyer at the same time.
That fits perfectly with what we're witnessing in terms of that insane. Was it Plaskett? What is her name again? I can't remember.
Plaskett? It's Plaskett, the Virgin Islands Congress lady. They don't have voting rights, but they're still able to like show up for those. So, which is kind of wild to think about. That, like, do you buy an island and get a representative? Is that how that works?
Hey,
I mean, it kind of makes sense if you think about it.
For real. It is fascinating though, because I did see that Obama context was in the form of Jeffrey Epstein basically sent this email to Reed Weingarten. Okay. And he says, Dershowitz tells me Obama called him to ask him what was going on in Israel. We should discuss. So that alone is very interesting, especially the date itself is January of 2012. So it's within the framework of, as far as just the timing is clearly during the Obama administration. And yeah, I mean, it is interesting to actually be provided a window into the communication and the style of communication and the language that they kind of use in a way whenever they correspond with each other. But how is any of this really revelatory as far as we might have further evidence that Peter Thiel is a degenerate, as far as like legitimately being involved with being presented young girls by Jeffrey Epstein, which it was hilarious because I brought that up last night on whatever this is, and Sam, his only pushback was that Peter Thiel is clearly a gay man.
Yeah.
Which fucking hilarious. But at the same time, like, remember, he's also a gay vampire. Okay. And so like not necessarily does gender always apply to his sexual proclivities and his, sort of degeneracy and hedonism and his strange lifestyle. And also violent fetishes that play out in so many different ways, I think are important for people to understand. And if you were maybe some homosexuals actually sort of hold disdain for the opposite sex, right? In certain, I've seen it. Yeah, certain context. It makes sense.
That's a joke, guys.
But you know what I'm saying, though, right? Like,
yeah.
As far as it's strange how that sort of surfaces and comes to fruition in terms of their character profile, and certain homosexuals that this applies to, where they very much would if they were sociopathic in nature and right, and had some sort of obvious appeal as far as their degenerate pursuit of abuse, you would have to think that they would enjoy whatever gender as far as a young child that they could potentially abuse, and it might not necessarily rely solely upon the gender being the full focus or priority. But anyway, for him to say, I thought it was hilarious. There was a Peter, as far as Jeffrey Epstein emailing Peter Thiel and saying that was fun. See you in 3 weeks. I mean, clearly it's out of context and we have no real understanding of what that means. But
Did you know?
It's hard not to
Did
speculate.
you know David Blaine was helping Epstein with the 1A visas or whatever it's called, the Epstein visas? He was one of the people that was working on that scam. Helping him out was David Blaine. I covered a thread this morning that followed this whole weird. The people. It really is kind of wild once you start digging into that sort of stuff. Following that thread, you start getting a pretty weird. A lot of times with these 1As, it's very common. These Russian characters come in. In this thread, I know one of the Russian characters came into. They were following this one. Young girl, we don't know her exact age. She looked maybe like 20 or something, that I was seen multiple times with Epstein. But if you follow her, she supposedly is a model who doesn't have much of a modeling catalog at all for some reason. But then you follow her visa, and it's like this, literally this intel Russian guy. And it is really weird. It sounds like some blue and on fucking conspiracy nonsense, but it is the more I dig into this, the more I'm like, oh shit, there might actually be a straight through line from Russian whatever the fuck they just piped right into whatever all this is, Russian hookers, all this. Now, am I saying that means that I think Trump, pissed in Russia or whatever the hell on hookers and all this other nonsense? Probably not. No, do I think he has a perfect control over him? It's probably a little bit more complicated than that, but it is kind of holy shit. There is it seems like what we were Drop Site was covering last week, where it seems like Epstein was, may very well have been the architect of what we just saw a year or so ago with Syria, essentially setting up those channels far ahead of it actually occurring. The idea of Assad stepping down and them getting the fucked state that they wanted.
Right. Yeah. No. That's just as far as the visas, and that sort of strange connection to how they kind of utilize these opportunities and just the opportunistic playbook of kind of human trafficking, right, and how it applies, and I just also just greenlighting a domestic terror operation as well, because I always think of Visas for Al Qaeda, that book from the individual who was actually working for, essentially he was being overruled by the CIA station chief at the time, and essentially who was being tasked with providing the visas to the hijackers, right, for the 9/11 hijackers allegedly. And so it's very interesting that so many people try to blow the whistle, and then obviously anyone with actual integrity who refused to go silent and not pursue any of it further in terms of blowing the whistle and raising red flags as far as the avenue of providing these clear and obvious potential terrorist suspects with valid visas to enter the domestic U.S. Leading up to their training and things of that nature. And clearly you had these CIA operatives who were assigned to this very avenue of kind of greenlighting a domestic operation in this way. And so it always just brings me back to all the different various examples that we can point to in how it doesn't always just apply to one certain sense of the enterprise itself and the sinister nature of the state. And I think that's just always omnipresent at this point. You know what I'm saying? As far as their this dystopian sort of well, I mean, God, brother, what did Apple just announced the right digital ID, so domestically within the U.S. So again, we're taking another broad leap in terms of that totalitarian agenda. But as far as the emails, still, like, it was Epstein proposing girls to not only Peter Thiel, but you had these prime ministers clearly who were also involved. Did you see that crazy Jared Kushner story about that I just stumbled upon? That was basically, it was discussing how Jared Kushner invited Jeffrey Epstein to a party with Trump and Harvey Weinstein in 2013, and it was very interesting. But I was reading through that, and it seems to just as far as the Jared Kushner connection here, which I might add that we didn't really address the fact that there were some of the funniest memes that I've ever seen generated from a scandal in my life, as far as Trump sucking off Bubba. It's just the funniest thing that I've ever witnessed, dude. And
it was my 13-year-old that told me about that happened. It's like, did you hear that Trump was doing gay stuff with Bill Clinton? I was like, what? Why are you telling me this?
You know what else was hilarious?
Everyone's talking about it.
Yeah, honestly, that. And by the way, that Russia connection, Brad kind of brought it to my attention last night, and I was sort of seeing something similar, which is this reinforcing this false narrative in terms of Russiagate being a valid instead of a complete and total hoax, which anyone who understands how the conflict essentially was provoked over time and have any sort of historical context already know that niet means niet. Although I will say that apparently one of the people was William Burns that Epstein was providing young girls to, which is the guy who blew the whistle and was the obviously the Russian diplomat, as far as for the U.S. who claimed that Sergei Lavrov told him niet means niet. This is a red line. We cannot bring Ukraine into NATO. But yet he's on the list, right, as far as being offered young girls by Jeffrey Epstein. So you never know. Obviously, they're always attempting to compromise individual assets. So who knows how much of it is just, you are a prominent individual who is clearly on the short list of being one of those said priority targets. And so just even through, association, you're guilty essentially at this point. And so that's really the issue I'm having, as far as like, we have to really discern for ourselves what is and what is not, obviously at this point, I don't know. I think we should all clearly be under the impression that this is truly a pedophile occupied government.
I think you might be overthinking a little bit, Austin. I think we'd just be I really think we'll be just fine. It wouldn't really be that much of a problem if we put them all against the wall all the same. So,
yeah, fuck you, man. Yeah, no, I'm with you. That's hilarious.
Okay, being a little bit silly, but I mean, with some level of seriousness, I guess there could be maybe the offhand person that got caught up in the mix of, oh, I was just impressed by these big parties and these grand buildings or whatever, and I was in the I'm sure there's some very low level people that are like, oh, I heard there was pussy and I showed up.
For real though, I guarantee you there are some, right? But and clearly these are not the most impressive individuals, I think, in the first place, as far as the swamp that is it's referred to. And that is just the permanent establishment in my mind, and the political actors that, kind of run the deception as far as the public face for the tactics of deception, right?
To put it simply, I've kind of had this weird thing I've been thinking about lately. It's at its core, it's like this all comes down to like, you're talking about them being unimpressive people. It really is. The elites are just controlled at a base level by gooning. Like, they're just that, like, completely incapable of self-control and completely dominated by their base nature, and, like, frankly, kind of borderline lower than human, if you really think about it. Like, they're just driven by their base desires, and that being, I must squirt, squirt, squirt. It really does seem to be, and that's what they're all driven by. And it is kind of, once you see that, it is kind of, you start seeing how unimpressive they are. And as silly as it may be, it is kind of like we're in this weird place where they kind of is like, the young men of this world can kind of short the world by just controlling their gooning and pointing out the gooning of the ones above them. And you're like, look at these fucking sick fucks. And it really is just, these people have no self-control. They're not impressive people. Like, it really is just people driven by their base nature and just kind of, manipulating trauma cycles in order to kind of be fucking psychic vampires and control the world. That's really like, but at the end of the day, they're not very impressive people. So
right, and very extraordinarily animalistic, and it is something that I referenced the clown pill in like a newly sort of I don't know, defined way, and as far as the way I interpret it at this moment, which is just kind of in my opinion, obviously, so much of this is just overtly and in your face in terms of the ridiculous nature of the personalities who are clearly the most prominent in the political class at this time, and that alone is almost demoralizing in itself, you know. And I think that is almost a part of the reason why. But at the same point, I think there are levels to this. And by the way, did you notice whenever that was kind of making the rounds, going viral, and well, still very much is, as far as the this implication of kind of a homosexual interaction with Trump and things like that. It's just interesting to me that the White House account felt the need to respond in a way to make it seem like Trump and Melania are this power couple.
I didn't see they did that. That's
dude,
great.
It's hilarious. And so they did not one post, but two. Like, one was legitimately claiming they were a power couple, and the other is, I can't help falling in love with you, with the music and a quote, and like them kissing each other. And it was perfectly timed. It was so convenient. Like, in no way was that right a coincidence, in my opinion, especially whenever you see my favorite memes that I have to show you.
I'm surprised it wasn't more crass, to be honest, because it does seem like Trump would totally be the one like, look at me, I totally fuck. Look at my plastic woman's ass. That's totally, I could totally see him being that way.
We got Donica Lewinsky up in here, bro. That was one of my favorites. And then the big beautiful bill, obviously, because I always heard that Trump grabbed his dick on the golf course. Now that is a true story, but at the same time,
is that some AI, that little video playing there?
Multiple examples of this have been AI for sure. But this one,
I could totally see him doing that though.
This one's very difficult to actually tell, but still. I definitely believe the story, and I've heard it many times as far as Trump patting that dick down. You know what I'm saying? So we have that, and then Throatback Mountain is one of my favorites as well. And then we have one more thing, because we all now know, and this was my favorite part. As this tweet says, the dance makes so much more sense now, and this was hilarious. Look at it.
There's no need to feel down. I said, young man, pick yourself off the ground. I said, young man.
It was worth it. Honestly, dude, like, it's too funny how many of these actually made the rounds as far as the just generating memes from the scandal itself.
But by the way, we do have a caller, but just so you know. But go ahead.
Oh shit, my bad. No, we can.
No, you're good. You're good. No, it's just whenever you're ready. We had to bring down the screen.
All
to
right,
bring
don't let me
you know.
forget. The only thing that I really wanted to address was that, because something that's of real substance that came out of this, I think, was the Saudi connection to Jared Kushner and Trump specifically with Al Walid, and that can lead into this strange Vegas component to that of Thomas Crooks too, right? That just surfaced recently in the past
Crooks
few
stuff
days.
in and of itself is we definitely going to touch that. All right, caller, you're on Already Dead with Austin and Jose. What is up?
Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
This is Adam Fitzgerald.
Oh, is it Adam again?
And yeah, it's me.
Oh, how you doing, brother?
Hey, what's up?
Good to hear from you.
Oh, what's going on? Incredible that the Trump administration has continued to continue meeting with various individuals, this time with Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman,
Exactly.
an individual with the ties to terrorists abroad. But in this case, I find it even more shocking that even during the press conference, a reporter from ABC, I think Robin Bruce, asked him about his ties to the kingdom, and also the murder of the Washington Post journalist Jamal Khashoggi, and not an attack in which Trump actually attacked Bruce, calling her fake news, and then basically submitting his response as a denial of having any ties to the kingdom's Salman family. However, I think the one issue that is basically not being spoken about, besides the business deals that are going on in the background and a stronger alliance with the Gulf, is something that I've been thinking about for quite some time, and that is the greater regional war that has a dual purpose, not just for the West, but also for the Gulf itself, and that is the potential future war with Iran. And if you take it from the Saudi sense, this is just basically about religious indifference. Saudi Arabia is governed by the Wahhabi creed, which is not truly a branch of Islam in any sense. It's based on the interpretations of Muhammad's diaries, the hadiths themselves, which are not attributed to the Prophet. But anyway, and with Israel, it's a geopolitical issue, a strategic issue. And one issue that is barely ever talked about is the Greater Israel Project, in which the project itself is about expansionism into parts of Syria, Egypt, Lebanon, Iraq, Jordan, and even Saudi Arabia. And if you take a look at those countries in a deeper level, you'll notice that they all have direct and indirect ties to the Israeli government itself. The modern interpretation of the Greater Israel Project is to describe the expansion of Israel's sovereignty basically over the two disputed areas, which is West Bank and Gaza. It does have a concept regarding the historical, the religious, and the political roots, which many individuals have believed that this is a conspiracy theory, but it's not. It's actually a work in project. In fact, 2 years ago, a coalition of Arab leaderships had condemned the project itself, which was procured by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who told an Israeli TV show, I think it's called I-24 News, where he spoke absolutely about the Greater Israel Project for the first time in public, and this was in 2023. And what I think is happening here is the beginning stages of the final enemy in the Middle East, and that is the Shia Muslim, Iran, Lebanon, and Syria. With Syria basically fractured and defeated, there is no link between Iran and Lebanon, which is Hezbollah. Now, of course, the legacy media themselves have basically sold the public that Iran is the greatest exporter of terrorism, completely denying the Saudi Arabian essence of Wahhabism in the Gulf, which procured all these terrorist groups, which are illiterates themselves and nothing to do with the religion of Islam, which is Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, the United Arab Emirates, and Yemen. But you would think that, Zohran Mamrani or the Shia coalition, which is a minority of the Islamic world, are the actual terrorists that are, threatening the West itself. Hezbollah has no direct threat to the West. In fact, 98% of all Islamic extremist attacks against the West in the last 30 years have been Wahhabi-oriented, that's Saudi-oriented. And I think what this meaning in the bigger terms is that with a stronger business deal, and I think Salman basically said that he would be investing over many billions of dollars into this future relationship with Donald Trump and the administration, is that it basically solidifies that the Gulf will remain neutral if this war were to ever take place. And I think it's going to, but I think I spoke about this in the last conversation we had, where I suspect that there would be a terrorist attack within the next 12, 14 months that'll be blamed on Iran itself. And that's what the public will get behind on new rules, just like they did with Iraq war itself. So I would like to get your both thoughts on the meeting between Trump and bin Salman itself. Do you see this as a rift within the Republican Party? And do you see the greater geopolitical implications for the Middle East itself?
I'll answer real quick because I probably have less to say about this than Austin does. I haven't really gotten a chance to dig too deep into it, but obviously I do kind of pay attention to the daily like anti-war type of news. So it does obviously seem like they're trying to do like an Abraham Accord squared type deal with Saudi of some sort, essentially something to try to get them to chill if anything is to happen. So, I mean, obviously the writing's on the wall a little bit there. I don't know to what degree they'll be able to get them to do stuff. It does seem like some of the big deals they're playing with Saudi has actually brought some level of concessions to the advantage of the Gazans, it seems, in the specifics of these deals. And I do actually have a question I'd like to follow up with after Austin answers. But yeah, that's about all I have on that. I'm a little bit... I don't know. I really don't know how to feel about the whole Saudi relationship. It honestly feels like kind of a moderating force to me at a very crude level between Israel and the U.S. So I don't know. Maybe to some extent it might be a good thing. Obviously, there's bad aspects of it. I'm not really a fan of, like, I don't know, having all these countries that we pay tens or hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars not to fucking fight Israel. So, like, overall, I'd rather just cut out the Israel problem and then we don't have to deal with any of it. But whatever, here we are. So I don't know. It kind of seems to be a bit of a moderating force. I don't have strong feelings about it. Austin, you've paid attention a little bit more to the story today than I have. I know. What thoughts do you have?
Well, I feel like this is definitely a part of the overall kind of preordained outcome in terms of what has been the longstanding agenda as far as bringing in Iran into the fold, a true, conflict, international in scope that would really provide, and if Adam's talking about a potential, domestic terror attack that could be easily utilized as a pretext to then launch some sort of legitimate conflict of foreign policy, engagement with that of Iran, then I think that matches perfectly with the overall agenda that has been playing out, and especially with we already know that MBS himself, I think he cut in line in terms of the Saudi royal family and who was supposed to actually become the crown prince and things of that nature. I think that the Saudi royal purge was very strange how that was conducted in 2017, and it seemed as if Mohammed bin Salman was sort of chosen, at least maybe before that moment, but definitely I believe that his reign was sort of entrenched in that sort of time frame, which is interesting just as far as this strange relationship between the Trump administration and MBS specifically. It's kind of been just as far as this, I think it was they had mentioned almost $1 trillion that he's going to potentially invest into the U.S., right, in the current administration, which obviously this is some sort of, I mean, that sort of money just doesn't, obviously it talks volumes and will, in my opinion, blatantly kind of position the priority as far as the agenda of the policy playing out and which is going to rise to at least on the short list to kind of the number one priority of the military industrial complex. But if we're talking that amount of money being invested by MBS, and then just I did think it was interesting because ABC, I think, was even threatened as far as their licensing or something to that effect, based on that question that was asked in terms of about Khashoggi and then also about the 9/11 victims' families, which I kind of thought that context was a little important as far as just, the Saudi royal family and the implication, obviously, of the longstanding ties to the 9/11 events that took place in New York. And so it's kind of interesting to actually see the way that they reacted to the question. And that's another aspect of it all that is kind of blatantly and overtly in your face, and it's brazen at this point as far as if you have any understanding of the issues playing out at any real level. And so, yeah, I view so many of these geopolitical conflicts sort of reinforcing this ultimate agenda, and that being obviously Lebanon, and well, even if you want to consider the natural resources aspect of kind of staging this Venezuelan conflict as well, and I mean, clearly that has been on the short list, and Trump himself even came out publicly during his time out of office, where he claimed that he had sort of staged that political agenda, foreign policy wise, to where Venezuela was ready to topple over. If he had been reelected, then it would have obviously been a priority, and Venezuela would have been effectively regime changed. So it makes a lot of sense that all of this is coalescing to create this ultimate. Really, it falls perfectly in the clean break and that of the Project for a New American Century and these neoconservative think tanks that I think the Brookings Institution is just as much involved. I don't really believe that there's this bipartisan nature in terms of the foreign policy agenda playing out. As far as like, there's no real difference or distinction between the two of them. I believe this is truly a bipartisan effort as far as the foreign policy agenda. And so, yeah, I just think that any sort of relationship or easing of which obviously we have held Saudi in high regard for far too long, in my opinion, because clearly I think they allow plausible deniability for the overall kind of military industrial complex footprint in the area itself. And obviously they've provided, they've been a viable resource and tool in that context, in my opinion, for really even Al-Qaeda in itself, I believe, was sort of manufactured and created out of whole cloth through the relationship between that sort of aristocratic dynamic between the royal family and the Western kind of powers that be of the permanent establishment. And I don't know. I think that nothing has really thrown a monkey wrench into the kind of overall foreign policy outcome that has been pursued for generations at this point. And this only is the next step in that ultimately totalitarian direction, that we will find ourselves in. So in no real way am I shocked by this relationship, and I'm not at all just surprised by the level of acceptance of this kind of dynamic as well. Because once again, it's like, how many people within the general public of the U.S. actually understand what Wahhabism is and the violent nature behind this ideology that has been kind of relied upon in terms of so much of these ridiculous. It's very clearly more convenient in terms of the strategic outcome as far as utilizing these groups in these regional conflicts. And so it's all about escalating tensions and forcing regime change operations and staging the region to really ultimately become a powder keg for the West to exploit. And so you see failed states all over the area, and that is exactly what happened in terms of Ukraine as well. And what inevitably occurs is they exploit it and leverage it for their own benefit, and it becomes a human trafficking hub of the world. And it's just natural at this point for us to kind of expect that if it has been this ultimate agenda item for again, it spans the test of time as far as like, it's not this this issue that is completely isolated and only applies to one sort of administration that's seemingly pursuing this sort of outcome. No, in every way, I see this sort of similar pursuit that there's really not even a real distinction at this point, and it's frustrating to witness, and I believe there's far more to it. I mean, if you understand the assassination of Jamal Khashoggi, and then also understanding really kind of the layered agenda playing out with Adnan Khashoggi, and we've discussed so very often as far as the Iran-Contra connections and the interesting sort of weapon smuggling aspect to the enterprise and the what we like to refer to as the deep state, but in reality, this is just kind of this strategic nature of the intelligence apparatus. And so what do we witness? We see Khashoggi and Epstein, right? There's a reason that Epstein had a Saudi passport. And then what actually occurs with Adnan Khashoggi? I mean, he's legitimately running sexual blackmail operations with his yacht entirely rigged for audiovisual blackmail, and which later on Trump would purchase himself personally. And so how are we to chop that up to a coincidence? And so it's hilarious to see Trump actually turn to Mohammed bin Salman and say that he had no idea about what happened to Khashoggi. It's just laughable, not on his face. And so
real quick, Adam, I don't want to waste too much of your time. I do have one question I want to ask you before we go to intermission. Real quick, though, I do get it's funny you mentioned Venezuela in that speech there, Austin. And it's funny, I was covering today Ecuador, which is actually a country that we have a pretty good relationship with. We actually tried to set up a deal with have military bases in there. And it's funny, it's something ridiculous, like 70% of their bananas that come out of that country are found to have like cocaine in them or something crazy, something ridiculous. And it's like once you start digging into it, like, okay, well, that's a narco-terrorist state, and we're like perfectly clicked in with them, doing some like gang shit. So just saying, it's just kind of funny how it works. But I did want to ask you, Adam, we're currently in the midst of this deal with this, like, I guess you call it like a reconstruction deal or something, perhaps, with Gaza. And just yesterday, they were talking about perhaps deferring the disarmament portion of it, namely because whoever ends up being part of that enforcement deal is going to be seen, as would make sense, as some sort of enemy to Hamas or whoever the people at that time. We also had today that there was a report that I guess now it's ours. When I say ours, I mean the United States is essentially going to be, I guess, the managers of sorts of Gaza. And now I've noticed this kind of almost a split dynamic. You mentioned the Greater Israel Project earlier. Well, it almost, I don't know if you want to call it the Greater Technocratic Project, although ironically all of these people also seem to be Zionists, the players, making these things happen behind the scenes. But it seems like there's almost a divergence currently, I mean, between the Israel party and then I guess more of the American Zionists. It seems to be there's some sort of split. Now, I don't know if this is some sort of theater or dialectic to get to what they want in the end anyways, but we were talking about the Saudi dynamic into all of this, which I think perhaps might play some sort of moderating force. But I'd be interested just kind of what you think kind of with all that. I mean, we also have talks of like they're getting ready to make a military base on the border of Gaza. I mean, hell, this stuff is probably likely going to come home. I mean, you have Jessica Tisch, who's the police commissioner over in New York City, who's, grandpa is one of the people in the study group, and these things are like coming home. So these very technocratic type things that are going to be implementing likely in Gaza will likely be coming home. So my point being is, it's like the Larry Elsons in the world seem to have this like technocratic vision. And this almost seems to be what the Trump administration seems to be more partial towards, trying to be the ones managing Gaza and the technocratic surveillance state and yada yada yada. But it's kind of, what are your thoughts on all that? I mean, obviously it's a powder keg, us taking over the situation. I mean, there seems to be that they have the sense to want to defer the disarmament portion of it because they know that's going to be a problem. But just obviously, it all is a problem. I don't know. Just kind of take it wherever you want. I'm curious your thoughts. I mean, obviously, I don't like it. So, what do you think, Adam?
Oh, you shouldn't like it at all, because this seems to be a reciprocating issue that continues to become more volatile over time. And of course, the United States' primary interest in Gaza is, according to the Trump administration, it always changes under each administration, but the primary interest is the lasting ceasefire and regional stability, but regional stability for the security of Israel only. And of course, the U.S. is the long-standing commitment to Israel's security, and that comes with a stable Gaza and ending the existential threat of Hamas, groups like Hamas and the Palestinian Islamic Jihad. Now, the one of the key components of the U.S. plan in keeping the Gaza demilitarized is that the UN Security Council back in November, they approved a U.S. drafted resolution that actually authorized an international stabilization force provided by the U.S. military to provide security in Gaza, which will oversee the transitional period. Now, here's where it can get really messy real quick. There is an individual named Bezalel Smotrich, who's the Israeli finance minister, and he has come out and basically said, and he's the leader of Israel's Religious Zionist Party, which is an ultra-nationalist party, condemned by the United Kingdom itself. But nevertheless, he has control over the planning in the West Bank. And he's repeatedly pushed expansionist policies in the face against international law. And he actually said that the plan would involve applying Israel's sovereignty to approximately 80% of the West Bank, and also added that this was in line with the principle of maximum land with minimum Arabs or no Arabs at all. In fact, Israel, I think currently right now, Israel has about somewhere between 500 to 700,000 Jews inside West Bank with 160 settlements, and that's growing. And that's just West Bank. You talk about East Jerusalem and Gaza City, right? Now, this is the land the Palestinians want, and therefore this is where the conflict, continues to be. But along with Gaza, Smotrich said he hopes for a future state that actually has no Arabs at all. Again, this is all illegal under international law. And he's a part of a group called the Kahanists, which are ultra-Orthodox groups that believe that Israel is Jews only and that's it. Now, there's a difference between them and, say, the Likud Party, which is Netanyahu's party, where they're an ultra-nationalist party. They believe that, we can allow for Arabs to live in Gaza at a minimum, but with Israel having, total power over the way they live and, control their water, electricity, and all this. These people, like Itamar Ben-Gvir and Bezalel Smotrich and Daniela Weiss, and all these very, terroristic, I call them the Jewish ISIS, because they do believe in a caliphate themselves, that they want Israel, Jews only, but not only just Israel, but they are also behind the Greater Israel Project, which expands into it. Now, going back to Gaza, the domestic opinion here in the States isn't just one-sided, it's twofold. Now, there is, I think I mentioned this in the previous call, last time I called, there was a split in the Republican Party currently regarding the Israel issue, and one of them is the Vice President, J.D. Vance, and of course now Marjorie Taylor Greene. And Greene is coming under attack by Donald Trump. And this is, I never would have thought that this would happen, but there is a growing resentment for Jewish ultra-nationalist, ultra-Orthodox policies that are basically gone on too long at the behest of Gazan lives. And the United States they had this they had enough of this conflict. They're under a ton of stress economically, psychologically, and it all comes to a head. People just want this to all end and to go back to a sense of normalcy, quote unquote. But it won't be, because the one thing that could crush them is something like a provoked terrorist attack that could happen in the States. I don't think there is anything that I could think of where the Republicans just say, you know what, the hell with this. We need to stop this terrorism and destroy the Middle East with minimum participation from the Gulf states themselves and have the United States basically do it. And it would be a disaster, because the United States doesn't need to be in Israel at all. We don't need Israel at all. Now, I'm not saying that, the hell with Jews themselves, because I think this is a growing resentment in the United States that they hide behind anti-Zionism, anti-government. Look, for example, I'll use myself. I am are totally against the Israeli government itself, from the Likud party to the Kahani organizations themselves. I think there needs to be reform, but I don't stop there. I go with Saudi Arabia themselves, but I could talk about Saudi Arabia. I could talk about Bahrain. I could talk about Yemen. I could talk about the United States government. But as soon as I bring up the Israeli government, I come under direct attack. Now, I'm not a big channel. I'm not a very famous person, but even for someone as small as me, could come under fire, critique, even from within my own circle, people within my own circle, that tells you a lot. Now, I don't consider myself an anti-Semite. I don't hate Jews. I think racism and religion and politics are all human constructs that need to be, desensitized from the human consciousness, because they're all constructs. They're not natural. They're learned applications and meant to divide the human community itself. On the other hand, there is a strong opinion within the consensus of the American people, and that is that they are just sick and tired of all the conflict that is happening in the Middle East. And you can ask that from an Arab to a Jew to a Christian to an atheist to whatever. But they're all just tired of it. And the only way to go about this is not more war, but more rational people at the table. We're not going to get that with Biden. We're not going to get that with Trump. We're not going to get that with any future administration that I could see. And we're definitely not going to get it with the Likudniks and the Kahanis over there in Israel. And we're not going to get it on Bin Salman, Bonesaw, I call them, and the other ghouls over there in the kingdom themselves under the Wahhabi creed. So what do? Do we just wait it out for the next 20, 30 years? We don't got that much time. And I think with more discussion, especially I've said this about you, Jose, and you, Austin, don't give up the need for conversation, because this is exactly what we need. Conversation with level-headed people that are not imbued by ideology or construct. We need people that are basically going to denounce evil, denounce wrongdoing, and call out people, no matter if they're left, right, black, white, and all this nonsense, right? We need to basically just say, all right, we've had enough of this conflict. We need saner heads to prevail, and we need to get rid of all these corrupt people. And then, people will just basically say, what's a pipe dream? It's not going to happen. Well, it is a pipe dream. It's not going to happen if we keep thinking about that. And as long as we can have this belief that we're bigger than what we are, that we're more powerful than we're told to be, we could probably get somewhere, but time is running out. And I've always said in my videos, and I constantly say it, and I feel bad for being repetitious, but I really mean it, that, when I made my channel, I made it in the hopes of informing people with unbiased reporting, in the hopes that, because information is power, because you could do something with information. You can't do anything with belief, because it paralyzes you. You can't go to court and say, I believe that, Netanyahu is committing more crimes. So you got to prove it, right? Well, we can band together behind that. And if we could just get everybody together, we could just get 1 million people, just 1 million people in the streets, and say, all right, this is the end of war. I believe that we could change the public conscience and say, hey, look, Democrats and Republicans are behind themselves on a common issue. And that's what I agreed with the libertarian cause, with Ron Paul. The one unifying aspect of all libertarianism was that they would be against war, because if we could stop war in the greater, broader picture, we could work on the smaller issues at home, and we could band together and probably have a profitable future.
I agree with a lot of that. A lot of good stuff in there for sure, Adam. We're about at the midway of the show. We're going to take a little intermission here. It's a pleasure having you call in. Any last thoughts? I don't know if you want to let people know where they can find you at. You've got great content. I highly recommend it, especially for those who want to look into Middle Eastern foreign policy, 9/11 truth, and the like. But yeah, Adam, let them know where they can find you at, your new Twitter account, all the like.
Yeah, hey, listen, I have a new Twitter account. It's Bin Laden's rifle. You Google that. But yeah, you just Google my name, Adam Fitzgerald, 9/11. Might come right up, and I'm easy to find. And, hey, guys, thank you once again for fielding the call. And, have a good evening.
All right, you too, Adam. Pleasure having you with us. Go ahead and roll that beautiful bean footage, Jacob. We'll see you guys in a few minutes, and we'll be back to talk about Thomas Crooks and hang out with some patrons and field any calls.
What do we have again? We have this perfectly timed anti-Semitic false flag perpetrated by another modern Gladio crisis actor dressed as an Orthodox Jew. It's like, dude, hey, I'm open and willing to believe that an Orthodox Jew just dresses up like that to go down and paint swastikas on the local Jewish community center, but get the fuck out of here. Like, this is just the dumbest narrative. And again, it's like this completely just what is it? It gaslights both sides of the political aisle, right? It very much does, because again, it
look,
perfectly
drawn a nice little swastika. Look at him. Drawing a nice little swastika and walking up and running away.
It's so funny. I tried to pull an article, honestly, for the show from archive, right, .is, and apparently it's down today, and so I was looking into why, and this is following
the government's down.
Yeah, it's following a subpoena from Kash Patel's FBI, apparently, and so
wow,
100%. That Max
they
Blumenthal
subpoenaed
said that.
archive.com and it got it shut down temporarily?
Archive.is. Yeah, it's essentially how you can get you can get through paywalls in a way as well as archive. Just it's the way that I seemingly get through paywalls most of the time. And once again, I was just trying. Occasionally, I'll archive something myself because it's not always within the actual archives, because they typically get memory hold half the time and purged.
What's up? Whoa, on the wrong side. This is weird. This is like being on the wrong. There you go. It's like when you're on the wrong side, the marriage bed or something. It just feels wrong.
Where'd you go, buddy? We lost Jose for a brief moment. Yeah, definitely.
What the fuck?
Dude, I don't know what just happened, but I was about to try and fill in for you.
Oh, fuck. What was I going to say? Oh, I was just going to make a quick aside. Did you see that exactly what we thought was the case with the pipe bombing ended up being the case? It literally was that they got handed a piece of paper by the government, and they went, I have this piece of paper from the government.
Exactly.
And then the end. And then a bunch of other stuff that sort of fit in that ended up not really fitting in, and it's looking like the Blaze is about to get their ass suit off. And it's probably all just contrived Fed theater.
Exactly. That's exactly how I felt, And I did think it was I really appreciated what Adam had to say at the end there, though, before the intermission, just as far as like now. I will say I'm very much disillusioned by any sort of fundamental collectivist protests of any kind. But at the same time, I will say where my hope lies and remains is essentially in throughout the course of these conversations where we can kind of discuss things in an objective way and try to consider alternative ideas and concepts regarding so many of these, cases and scandalous events and just extraordinary, just say media hit pieces. And it's just every day we're being overexposed to, obviously social engineering. What's up, Krabs?
Hey, fellas.
Hey.
How you doing, buddy?
Sorry. I'm not full of pizza.
You're good, Krabs. Hey, what's up, bud? Austin, you want to finish your thought before you jump in real quick? Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, just honestly, it's fine. Just the point being is that I think it's really important, for us to legitimately continue to have these conversations and to at least, openly provide an avenue for anyone who's willing and available and interested to kind of pursue alternative ideas and kind of and see which way they could potentially apply them in some sort of ethical, principled fashion. And that in itself at an individual level is how you can kind of make a positive impact. And I think that's where my focus remains at this point, because I'm so just at this point I'm very much let's just say it's very off-putting to me in any sort of psychological perspective that involves controlling your neighbor at any level. And so I personally kind of am trying to focus on what I can control. And I think that in itself helps you remove yourself from the outcome a little bit more. And maybe then you won't be as plagued by kind of the demoralization aspect of it all, which is intended to do that very thing, right? Which is bog you down in an over emotional heightened state of mind to where you can't quite see through things in a proper way and interpret them in any sort of applicable way either. But anyway, what's up, Krabs? How you doing,
what's up,
buddy?
dude?
Not much, man. I'm gonna jump right off of what you're talking about, brother. Like with everything going on, again, I'm all about the break tape or like your community or just what you have, control of, or quote unquote. But like right now, like just today, everything going on, talked to a quote unquote normie coworker of mine. And I just broke it down like he's a hardcore MAGA Trump, all that shit. And you can see those little fractures, like the fractures of doubt are seeping in. And you don't just like go in with a jackhammer. You go in like, all right, man, you got some daughters. Like what do you think? Like if your daughters were in a sport and every time they were changing, the coach came in, what would you think? Like, fuck that shit. And then just like, well, that's all the accusations that them teen models for teen America were lobbing, and just throw that like us and I'm gonna end this and dovetail and let y'all go on. But that's why I think those little normie shorts or normie morsels are going to be so important to us is we blow right past all that. Like, yeah, no shit. Trump is checking out fucking little girls' necks. Like, let's, and that is, we forget how fucking mind blowing those little things are for red versus blue people. And so now's the time to be going out there, banging down doors, talking to your people, talking to your buddies, talking to your coworkers.
People
they
care.
fucking do.
And the funny thing is, I almost I try not to get sucked into the slop, but like I don't know. For example, I saw Tim Pool the other day. I don't know if he was saying Israel or if it was Epstein. I forget what he said. He was like, said something like, no one cares about no one I talk to cares about this. Or I can't remember how he said it. He tried to give like this like everyman type thing because. I mean, he likes to, his whole thing, he's like out there in Virginia in the woods. So he's like, oh, I live out in the rural area. So I'm kind of like the people. No, you're not. You're an internet millionaire and you're completely sequestered off from normal fucking people. You fucking weirdo. Yeah. But anyways, it's trying to be this like, I don't know, at least for me, I mean, not that I'm like super like, I know it gets not like I hang out with a shitload of normies, but my feeling from like, red-blooded middle American people is they really fucking care about this. I'm kind of surprised how often when I like say I go pick up a shift to go fucking, like what's like a middle class, like, kind of, blue collar type people. And they're like, they're mentioning Israel. They're talking about Epstein. They're like, I think Trump's fucking kids. They're like, I think something's going on with that whole Kirk thing. And they're like, they're fucking like, I'm not buying this bullshit. And it's like, I don't know, this whole idea of like, well, no one really cares. Like, I think they fucking care. And I guess like, sure, people try to be like, do this whole like, table issues or whatever the hell the term is, where they talk about like Epstein. They try to make it out like, well, nobody cares about that. Like what they care about is the price of whatever. Well, for one, that's fucked too. But two, it's like, yeah, no, people really give a shit when you're fucking kids. They really, really, really do. And it's like, no matter how much you're like, well, we're going to make bread cheaper. You're like, dude, you're fucking kids.
Right. Yeah. But the only pushback that I have is that it seems like this falls into the kind of like, it seems as if it really is more about the same concept of the right owning the libs by supporting Trump. It's very similar in that way in terms of the left taking advantage and exploiting this opportunity in a way, as much as I think it's valid and important to obviously smear this as effectively as possible in the face of these individuals who are clearly, sinister, sadistic perpetrators, but at the same time, and then also the people who had the audacity to kind of fall into the trap and support the political actors that are clearly, implicated in this. But at the same time, I do very much witness how this is self-serving in who is willing to pick this up and run with it, and also who is being most vocal. It seems to be about crucifying your ethical values in this distorted way upon your neighbor, right? In this sort of, at least more so in the social media environment in terms of the public square at this time. But still, you're seeing this kind of like play out in a very convenient way, which seems to fall into that partisan divide and the culture war itself. And so again, it's like an opportunity to say, I told you so about Trump, when which is fine. But at the same point, it's like, do they really actually ultimately care about, at the end of the day? Now, I'm not saying they aren't disturbed by it, that they don't wish that ultimately the reality we face would shift in a positive direction ethically. But at the same time, I think they're much more concerned about exploiting the opportunity against their political rivals and their opponents ideologically, more so than actually concerned with solving this in any real substantial way. And that's where I'm always concerned, because no one actually is concerning themselves with what avenue should we choose to take as far as making any sort of fundamental change in the system itself, which allows this insulated, accountability factor to this pedophile class that we're surrounded by, that in DC, that obviously I mentioned before, pedophile occupied government. That's real, man. Say no to POG. That shit is that I mean, honestly, right?
I love fat ass white girls. I don't know what you're talking about.
I got a little bit on that. I got a little bit on that. Use things like P. Diddy.
You're right.
Like no. Like what you're talking. I'm talking about like interfacing with the normies and incorporating with what you said. Like trying to like. Again, my table's mostly Republican, maybe 30% Democrat, probably 70% Republican. And yeah, it always devolves into right versus left real quickly. Whenever I'll bring up something.
Oh, shit.
Using P. Diddy. And like, listen, guys. Oh, sorry.
You're back. Keep at it.
Okay. Yeah, I just found that using the P. Diddy, like, listen, we didn't even arrest a fucking rapper. What, like, y'all really need to try and get beyond this left versus right. Like, this goes much higher, and if this really does come out, you're going to be surprised at the non-political name and trying like the Warren Buffetts or
come on, Krabs. If he was in that Epstein list, it would have came out during it when Biden was in. Like, come on.
Wow. Yeah. Oh god, damn. Hearing that shit today was terrible.
Oh shit, man.
So,
yeah, a million times. Yeah, every single time. Well, I just feel I want them to. I just want to commit seppuku every single time. Every time I hear that stupid fucking line. Sorry, go ahead, Krabs.
Well, I know Shy wanted to come on, so I'm gonna bow out and let y'all have it. Y'all take care.
All right, well, appreciate it, Krabs. We'll see you, brother. I guess we'll go and bring Shy on there, but we'll go and get started. Shy can jump in the conversation. Huh?
That story about in the emails about Epstein saying, "Ask my house man about Trump."
No, I didn't see that.
You didn't see that one? He goes,
no.
Have them ask my houseman about Donald Trump almost walking through the door, leaving his nose print on the glass as young women were swimming in the pool, and he was so focused he walked straight into the door.
Yeah.
Like I none of this. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. My bad. Good. I was going to jump right into what you wanted to talk about. Hard reset. Shy. What do you think about Crooks? Does that motherfucker glow or what? Thomas Crooks. You seen any of the new information? I think you're muted, bud.
I think he's muted. You're muted, dog.
Yeah. Oh no, talk. Oh, something's going on with your audio, bud. It's your audio.
Bugging, brother.
If you want to try to mess with it, but I mean, Austin, I'm assuming you've dug a little bit into the Crooks thing. Oh, yeah. I know we wanted to talk about that a little bit. Crooks. I know Tucker Carlson did a little bit of a dig into it. I needed to probably try to talk with Ken at some point about this. Because that's his beat. I don't really know exactly how Tucker got a hold of it. I don't know if he's even revealed his sources, but somehow he was able to get a hold of some nerd shit of Thomas Crooks to where a lot of people have been saying, I don't think they ever actually technically said this. They said something about how he had no online footprint. That was just like some weird thing that got repeated. Although technically we didn't really ever find out much.
The authorities technically ran with that because the investigators didn't make it public. I think that was the issue. They withheld the transparency in regard to his digital footprint, and then ran with a statement by the authorities claiming that he had no digital footprint, and which, by the way, this feels almost exactly like the J6 pipe bomber story in a way, which is weird. I'm not saying that there's not a little bit more credibility to it, but
and that it resurfaces later with some inside figures that have, which to add to the weirdness, I didn't remember her saying this, but I saw Ken post about it. Apparently Candace had said something about dropping some big expose or something on Thomas Crooks, and then within like the next day or two at some point, and then it never happened, and then shortly after that we saw the drop from Tucker. So it was almost like one got shifted, like almost like she gave it to Tucker. But yeah, obviously that's reminiscent of the J6 thing, because the way the J6 thing worked is obviously, I don't know what degree this is just organic or what, but we had Kyle Seraphin, one of the untouchables or whatever the hell they called, one of these feds who thought it was too goddamn woke or whatever the fuck during their time, so they had to get out because there was a good old days. And oh yeah, we can hear you now. But then with Kyle, he then had this claim, and funny enough, it was actually on my show like a good deal before all of this. It just for some reason hadn't really taken off yet. He was making these claims that he had somehow been part of the team that was tracking the pipe bomber and yada yada yada. And so then now he brought this information to it, to which I don't know what degree that's true or not. I mean, there's like sort of a source. Trust me, bro. But to be fair, the source is one of the guys who like would have been one of those people, so it makes sense. So you give a little bit more credibility, but it's like I'm gonna need a corroboration there, dog. But anyways, that aside, I guess they get with the whole J6 thing. Obviously, they bring in Baker, and they bring in these other things that sort of make it seem like, oh, here's another sort of good little piece of info. If I match it with this other sort of good piece of info, you're like, oh, good info. But obviously, so yes, there obviously is very much we're seeing with the Crooks thing now. Obviously, it's a little bit different, maybe not quite a 1-for-1, but it is like we're getting this weird info drop a good deal later, seemingly almost like a privileged sort of situation that somehow got. But also, who knows? Maybe we're just being jealous bitches, and these people are also the largest media influencers in the world, so they probably just might actually just have these sort of reach, sources, team, etc., that enable these sort of things to happen, whereas I don't.
It's possible. At some point, oh, dude, I gotta send you a thread that both JJ and Dana were a part of that blew my mind on Candace being managed by Tavistock and essentially being one of the founding Freemasons of Turning Point USA. And like, dude, it's fucking crazy.
Send me that shit. I'll cover in the morning show.
Yeah, I'll send it to you. It's crazy. It's something that I wanted to discuss, but also I wanted to kind of like provide that avenue of research for myself instead of rely on a thread in a way, you know what I mean? Because it does seem like there's very many just kind of priority avenues to follow down, and who knows where it'll end in terms of the rabbit hole. But yeah, man, I understand that confirmation bias is real, but this feels too detailed and accurate in terms of the individuals who surround her rise to prominence. And yeah, I mean, her ridiculous marriage is so arranged. It's insane to me. These people are all fundamentally entrenched in Tavistock as far as the Institute itself and social engineering principles at large, and how they can basically prioritize kind of disrupting the West culturally and socially in many ways, and utilizing these influencers to essentially achieve that ultimate agenda. And it's the influencer industrial complex that we've been discussing. And unfortunately, I think, I don't know. I thank God for the kind of strange ability I have to assess a person's character from a distance. And I hope that I can rely upon that, and I'm not taking it for granted. But I will say, man, sometimes when people you can smell it off of them, the disingenuous nature of the ego involved and every other aspect of a manufactured presentation that will help control and disrupt the proper avenue of objectivity. And again, it's very upsetting to witness very effective and efficient mind manipulators at play here, and how much they kind of take the spotlight and also kind of create this reactionary environment for everyone to discuss what they are kind of setting the narrative for. That's like frustrating as hell for me. You know what I mean? Like I see, but whatever. Who knows? I'm just kind of at this point. I do feel grateful for the ability to kind of attempt to assess what looks to be some sort of social engineering, a mind war project. Being actively implemented upon us in the moment. But yeah, before I don't really want to talk about Candace though, honestly. It's just my own thing, honestly, emotionally.
Bring her
I can't
up
take it anymore.
Shy, what are your thoughts on black bitches? Just kidding. What's up, Shy?
Hey, that brings up the eugenics component too.
Dude, yeah. We didn't talk about that. I even mentioned you on the morning show when I was like, man, Q Austin, like he with his Nygaard shit right now. They're trying to Epstein's trying to make he's legit trying to make superhumans. He's trying to make smart blacks, dude.
Black brains are slower at learning high-level concepts, according to Jeffrey Epstein. And,
before like the whole thing where the world knew about Gates and Epstein, I had found out before that they were working together, and what I saw that they were working on some kind of breeding thing. He was using Gates to help to get access to some kind of, basically, I guess, spreading his seed type thing.
Probably looking for black bitches. They weirdly have a thing for black. I don't know what it is. They are really. It is weird. They're really race obsessed. Like it is so bizarre. Like I mean, we joke and stuff, but they really are like obsessed with that shit. It seems like it is all too common. We get these weird high level. They have odd race obsession.
Every gene in existence is present in Africa. So, outside of Africa, there's going to be missing genes, but every single gene in the human genome is present in Africa.
Interesting.
I'll take your word for that. With that one,
Look it up.
I buy it.
Yeah, why not? I don't know what their reasoning is, but it is bizarre. They do have a thing for they have the jungle fever. I guess I get it, but it is it's far more I don't know, more academic of an interest. It's odd. It's like there's something they know we don't.
It's the same as the physical traits of like the additional calf muscles and things like that, where black athletes, unfortunately for me, because I'm a white dude, but honestly, like that, it's just selfishly, that's how I've always looked at it. Like, man, it would be nice if I had a crazy vertical.
That's just pseudoscience.
Yeah, I don't believe this is like legit, but it is.
No, dude, I'm legitimately, I'm saying.
Oh my!
Like,
did you hear Epstein? Okay, he was also super. Not, I mean, I know we've already got you fall in love with him a little bit with the racism thing, but he also was a misogynist. Did you see? He said, God, who was it? He was being coached by Bannon for PR work to like try to deal with the allegations.
I refuse to believe he was a misogynist.
But he said at one point they're asking him about women or something. It's weird because he does this like weird shtick where he also like tries to promote women and yet, although it's creepy because these are clearly women he's fucked that then help to elevate them to different positions or whatever. But anyways, he said that women go stupid as soon as they have their first period or something.
Oh my God!
And this is like so to me his like interview with Bandit. That's supposed to be like his fucking like kind of bring him back PR wise after diddling kids.
Oh my God! What kind of world are we living in, boys? Like I'm honestly at this point it is sort of this just clown pill. Kind of at face value as far as the level of the individual personalities in these prominent positions and how all you have to do is scratch a little bit below the surface and the world opens up to you and you realize how fake and gay everything truly is and also how effective these sophisticated techniques have become. And that's why like, man, we talked about the various targeted assassination techniques that they utilized over time and how obviously they've been clearly, advanced to a level that is almost incomprehensible at this moment, I would think. And just as, some of the kind of windows into the methods themselves that we've been provided, it clearly points to the fact that, my God, dude, what about when I talked about the 1950s files from the CIA essentially running these hypnotic programs where they could essentially put an individual into from a free-willed state of mind to a hypnotic trance within the context of one single phone call, and basically utilizing these frequency systems that have clearly been far more advanced than I think many of us can even, as I said, comprehend. And I think that means in their operational tactical value as well. And we talked about like pulling up outside of your house, programming you with subliminals, utilizing EMF radio frequency systems. dude, that is so much more sophisticated at this point. They could probably just turn your phone on while it's off, and the NSA could just legitimately, trigger that frequency system, and have this wavelength just actively, disrupting your subconscious mind and keeping you in a subliminal state, right, or in a dissociative state while they
anymore.
Do what?
So that's why you can't take your battery out of your phone no more.
Dude, and even that, like when you used to be able to, like I'm telling you, man.
Battery,
yeah, they can still legitimately trigger your device, which is just insane. The Vault 7 documents prove, man. Oh, Michael Hastings, no way they could have activated his Mercedes and slammed his accelerator down to the floor and have him just slam into a palm tree going, a ridiculous, extraordinary, mile per hour as far as the rate of speed. But yeah, he didn't even pull his foot off that pedal, man. And even if you have suicidal tendencies, every single person pulls their foot off the pedal just before impact. It's the way of the world. That is just nature.
I was covering on the morning show the other day. They whatever they is, I forget what some college somewhere, I guess, has already developed these, but I guess they've got nanobots that go into your bloodstream and can cross a blood-brain barrier now, and can cause electrical stimulation to your...
Right?
Yep. Yeah. So there's so many different ways you could probably theoretically get me just a prick. I mean, was it the pokey poke or whatever? I forget what the hell they call the jab. Jab a prick. There's probably all sorts of different ways they could do such things to get into your system. So I know it is a little bit creepy. I actually paired that with the what's his face's Aquino's claims of 9/11, which I forget what his specific claims were. There was some wild shit to where it's like, I don't know if it's true or not. I know obviously any of the 9/11 truthers, or especially the more respectable ones, probably think what his opinions on it are completely ridiculous. But even then, whether it's true or not, they also point to the thing. I think to some degree that is almost like, I guess there's something there to the Satanism, the idea of that, like, it's magic being played upon you, and whether it's real or not, the idea that you think they could do that, you're like, fuck. The idea that you think that they could probably hack into your car and slam it into a wall, I know whether that's true or not, that's the magic of it.
Yeah. All I will say, no, I do think you're right about this. There's some power to the idea that, condition the public to imagine you are more powerful than you even are. But at the same time, I push back on that a little bit, because I definitely believe that is why I reject the clown pill from my interpretation, not the traditional, use of the term. But as far as just they're clearly, if you see how unimpressive they are, there's no way they're capable of such advanced, sophisticated tactics of right, just in terms of the deliberate deception playing out. And that in itself is very frustrating to me, because we have evidence and proof of just it's at this point, I believe it's been factually, substantiated through evidence, and we legitimately can point to examples that prove all of this has effectively been pursued and achieved, right? And we have examples of that as well. And so, you can take it at every level, from human honeypots to legitimate Manchurian program candidates who become assassins, right? And priority target assassins. So all of that, I think, has been effectively, convincingly, right, reiterated and reinforced through substantiated evidence, right? And that in itself is very important to remind everyone of. So I think that is a psychological operation in a sort of way to have us conditioned to not believe they are as effective and efficient as they have become. And so that's my only pushback there. And then also, before it's both. You're exactly right. Yeah. There's a ritualistic component to the occultism that they layer into it, and obviously they want you to subconsciously fear them at the very least, and that alone is like, man, No, like I'm gonna legitimately point to when even if they're
that's why you have to be already dead.
Yeah, that's true.
That's why.
You know what I'm saying? Like them hacking your car. If it's got the internet, then of course. But like
right.
That those nanobot things. Like I've seen also other paperwork about similar things where they're controlled by light. Once it gets inside of you, they control it remotely through light. So there's a lot of different technology.
Applications.
Technology is really just shit. Really just showing us what they want to have.
Exactly.
And then it's going to be shitty too. It's going to get inside you and fucking break in a couple fucking months anyway.
That probably happens all the time. People short circuiting and shit. Like, come on, man. MK Ultra. They definitely failed through their experimentation process at times, right? And I would imagine that you can do examples of like, what did that dude who was schizophrenic went through a heaven and hell journey on mescaline, and they're like they cut open his head and essentially they're kind of picking and poking and prodding and seeing what neurons are affected by in this certain state of mind and context, and the chemical compound effect as well, and what exactly would happen and the reactions on as they poke and prod within the framework of the brain itself. But what Jose says is absolutely right. Thank God that we have a show called Already Dead, right?
Yeah, and that's what they fear. They're already dead, because it's like, how do you break that curse? That's the only way, because it is this as we pointed out, it's both. It's just like they try to create this illusion of all powerfulness, but at the same time, they are very fucking powerful. But they aren't all powerful. They aren't omnipresent. So it is hard when you are. I guess Sauron would be a good example. It's like you kind of already just got to assume, like, fuck it, I'm already dead. It is what it is. If they're gonna do it, they're gonna do it. They can kind of suck my dick, and you just kind of do your thing. I mean, that's the only way you can deal with it. Otherwise you're living in fear.
Exactly. That just reminded me of kind of really the name The Underclass Podcast is almost exactly the same in terms of the conceptual outcome of the term itself. As far as Already Dead and The Underclass Podcast, we remain, as I say, in the underclass, as far as our overall, unfortunate consequential effect that we endure as a people and as the general public. We share a common enemy is something that I've said as a common theme throughout since I began this, sort of a quest of content creation or whatever you want to call it. But it's really just, I was desperate, as I've said many times, to find opportunities and avenues to have these conversations. But the meaning behind the conceptual value of we are all members of the underclass, right? And that I am a man who believes that I died 20 years ago. And I live like a man who is dead already.
Ooh,
that
he
is
said it. He said it.
The most beautiful sentiment, and honestly, it really
iconic, is. Though. It is.
It truly is, man. And that I love that psychological state of mind, that mentality. Oh, it gives me inspiration and hope for the future. And having the relationships that I've cultivated with the two of you and with people that I've met along the way throughout this process. Man, that's beauty. That's what life is about, and fuck the system, fuck the establishment, in every way we have to remind ourselves, we're surrounded by this pedophile class and none of them have your best interest at heart. So resist having those meaningless debates that are very much unnecessary in many ways and lead you into conflict with people you should love and desperately want the best for, and that's the only thing that frustrates me more than anything, but I will say I had a goal of discussing just that remaining points in terms of the Al-Walid connection to Jared Kushner and the Epstein emails.
Oh, yeah.
That in itself, I had wanted to mention Thomas Crooks in that context because my God, I mean, there's a Vegas connection to everything at this point, is what I'm beginning to find, and yeah, that that is very strange that you would see in 2017, right, November 7th, 2017. Now keep in mind, what was it? Was it July? Wasn't it? It was the. Hold on, let me find. It was the first. I remember 2017, but I'm trying to recall. Was it June or July? As far as the Vegas shooting itself,
I couldn't tell you. I feel like it's June, but I'm not 100% sure.
Why don't we have any real recent pictures of this Thomas Crooks? Like, why is there not a lot?
Because he died.
Show what he looks like. No,
I know I was fucking with you.
October. It was October 1st. Okay,
Yeah,
it was October 1st.
Yeah, it does seem to leave the kid ones. It's like anytime it's a black shooting, it's always a cute little kid. It does seem to be all the kid ones. Whereas like the weird picture we saw behind him, he looked like a fucking weird little gremlin. So
that's like the oldest one, right? That would be like the one that makes him look the oldest, right?
Yeah, I think they got some weird behind the. I don't know if that was from the thing or what. I don't know. They have one from behind that like. Hell, even the one photos we saw, I think we saw photos of the body. I always thought it was weird that like there was all these rumors about who it really was. It never really looked all that much like. But it's just that there weren't a whole lot of photos, which I guess to be fair, whatever. I mean, I don't know. Well, are they entitled to give us a million photos of the crime scene? But it just didn't seem all that convincing to me. I don't know.
If they would have put out more pictures of contemporary pictures, recent pictures of his face, it's possible they're not doing it because people would be like, "Oh shit, it's that guy," and they know him as something else. They don't know him as Thomas Crooks.
Well,
they know him as whatever Rodrigo.
Well, I mean, shit. Some of the stuff that came out recently is he was fed posting like fucking crazy. That was like the biggest takeaway.
Right, there was a sort of date. There was a date where he pivoted and he went from being pro-Trump to anti-Trump. Is what they claim in this ridiculous
and
content.
like the most insane over the top like we got to line them all up and put bullets dipped it like just the most insane like just overt like no like oh that's 100% a crime like no ambiguousness about it whatsoever. It's insane over and over and over again.
It does not feel genuine to me, this narrative. Now I feel like you remember, obviously at just the Tyler Robinson, right? Just in terms of the FBI fan fiction narrative behind the Discord chat and the strange interactions that he was potentially having. It's what this reminds me of. It's the same as reading through, the effective timeline and an account official narrative behind the Columbine massacre. Like that in itself, it's like it feels like in the FBI writers' room they concocted the perfect script of what we would all expect, and it would also reinforce every level of the official narrative. Now, who knows? This is just me speculating from obviously from the outside looking in. Although I have, overexposed myself to the details, I still think that it's very important to consider this as a reality. Of them potentially utilizing this, and also consider the timing of this coming out, because you have the Epstein spotlight really taking the day in terms of the priority media cycle. And so this can kind of sneak through where the only people who are concerned with it or it appeals to and catches their eye are weird schizos like us, right? Who are legitimately interested in this strange pattern recognition that has become a superpower that we can't quite resist. And so we find ourselves bogged down in this similar environment, surrounded by the same recycled narrative that should raise all the red flags. And so for this kid, I mean, my God, it's just ridiculous to see that you have FBI, Secret Service, as far as these connections to Crooks himself potentially being a part of what was just recently exposed. Did you see that video of him like shooting in his room? Which is very
dry firing. Yeah.
I was like, what is even happening here? But still,
that's not that. This is dry firing. No. I do that occasionally. I'm not a fucking weirdo.
I'm not saying it's the way in which he's performing this. You know what I'm saying? And that is the only reason. I'm not saying that weird nerd.
What's the term when you're basically
Naruto
running? Is that what you're trying to say?
That's basically it. But no, with an incel, he's essentially, he fits the profile of being one of these usual suspects that seem to not be able to have any sort of engagement with the opposite sex.
Yeah.
Completely.
Like he was the third grader Naruto runner. Like he was. That's who he was.
It's the best description, honestly. But yeah. So this is very strange to me because the actual details that are being provided surrounding some of this recent kind of digital footprint in regard to Crooks himself, it seems to in every way fit this strange a playbook of the reversal in ideology. Every single thing that he kind of he checks a lot of the boxes of that of the programmed patsy that is on the viable path that is essentially trying to create this acceptable pretext, that we will all then accept at face value in a certain way because it's too accurate to resist and set aside. But in reality, you dig a little deeper, and what you see is that he had over 17 accounts uncovered by these sources were YouTube, Snapchat, Venmo, Zelle, GroupMe, Discord, Google Play, Quizlet, Chess.com, and Quora. So this guy was on every single digital platform, yet the original official narrative was that he was a ghost, right? That was really it, honestly. And that was what the authorities even ran with and made public statements in regard to. So that in itself caused for concern. Mm-hmm. Then you have these online interactions when Crooks was 15 to 17, right? This is throughout the course of this time is when he begins to reverse his ideology, right? By the end of it. And so it seems like he's having all these strange, violent posts, right, on these online spaces, and his apparently he was obsessed with political violence as a solution of some kind, which I mean, look at him. The dude's in a BlackRock commercial. He's talking about political violence. Like, come on, buddy, But I will say that he's definitely like the guy. Personally, you just look at him and he looks like an incel for sure. You know what I'm saying? Like just one of the most nerdy. I would. And the furries, man, that was another thing. There's a Tyler Robinson connection. I'm like, hey guys, is there any way you would believe that he had a furry fetish?
I think I'm gonna dig a little into that tomorrow. I think people might be mischaracterizing him, but I think he was into some other weird thing. But maybe it's furry stuff. It's some sort of other weird specific thing. I think. Let me see.
There were online threats basically when Crooks was. He said there was no way the FBI would not have been aware of that FBI agent who claimed that his PayPal, which I think that part in itself, I don't want to pass up over and skip that part because it is really important to know that essentially there was this crazy after his political 180 where he decides that he no longer, obviously, he no longer supported Trump after a certain point in time and starts talking about Trump supporters as cult members, right? And claims that they're how can you people call others sheep, but you are too brainwashed to realize how dumb you are, right? Is one of the things that he said. He said, I mean, literally, you guys sound like a cult at times. That was something that he said. And then he finally described by 2020, he described Trump as a racist, right? So he begins to truly take that political 180. But what did you pull up, buddy? Did you have something?
I just wanted to. I haven't dug into this yet, so maybe. I've obviously watched the one Tucker thing, but I didn't really devour it alone. I haven't really had time to pick through this, but I did have some things bookmarked, like this, for example. This person's saying the furry thing. It seems like they're saying, I'd like to ask what evidence does provide to show Thomas Crooks was trans or had a furry interest. It says he had one account out of 17 with a label of they, them. So a lot of people are jumping on the they, them thing, which I don't know to what degree that's significant. Obviously, people sometimes make a joke like, oh, they, them, or who knows? Maybe it's some stupid troll. Maybe he was a they, them. He wasn't a very good-looking dude. I wouldn't be surprised if it's some sort of weird troon.
Furry connection. It was.
There was a furry convention.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, there was a connection, not a convention, but maybe.
Because I think what I've seen is that people are jumping on is that he had an account on DeviantArt, which I don't really know what the fuck DeviantArt is entirely, but I think it sounds like some sort of platform where this probably does, like, this is the pictures of the DeviantArt. So we're like, this is sort of art that furry shit would be like. I've seen this stuff in 764 circles too. So it's not necessarily furry stuff, but it's the same type of art, although it's very common furry stuff too. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not as in touch with the kids world, but if that makes him a furry, I guess he's a furry. I mean, it's definitely funnier to say he's a furry. So I kind of hope that's true.
For real, dude. And beyond the parallel, obviously, between him and Tyler Robinson, which is just, it's too hard to resist at that point. If this is true, but I think it is important to address what you're saying as far as like, yeah, this is very speculative at best, in a certain way. Although I will say that the connection is, strange in terms of obviously you mentioned the DeviantArt, but this is allegedly one of the biggest online hubs for furry art in the furry community specifically. But then also there were 2 accounts that linked to Crooks' primary email that were found on DeviantArt under usernames Epic Microwave and The Epic Microwave. So the account suggests he had an obsession with scantily clad cartoon characters sporting muscle-bound male bodies and female heads. So that's all we got. So furry connection, definitely not quite direct, but still, I can see why they would want to kind of take this and run with it in a way.
Maybe tranny, at least.
Definitely tranny, because it doesn't feel like, I don't see a direct furry.
Well, deviant art would be like brute art, which would be any art that is just made by someone that could be retarded, could be a fucking mass murderer in jail, could be just somebody on the outside. It's outsider art.
Yeah, I think it looks like almost like meme art of sorts, like very, very crude meme art almost is what it looks like. Go ahead.
Well, I think the most damning part of this recent report in regards to Crooks, if this is true, is and this part is technically true as far as this strange connection to Thomas Crooks' FBI PayPal, which is what he was essentially at least again this is somewhat not exactly the most substantiated direct connection of any kind, but still it's very suspect in my opinion and worth mentioning. And that is basically you have this interesting connection to him having this PayPal profile, right, which seems as if among his 17 accounts uncovered, only one on PayPal was operated under an alias called Rod Swanson. And the first thought I had was Parks and Rec and Ron Swanson and that libertarian character that he plays, right? Because I do really enjoy that. But at the same time, it seems like Rod Swanson is a former senior FBI agent who was the chief of investigations for the state of Nevada during the 2017 Las Vegas mass shooting. And so that is the name of the actual that is connected to Thomas Crooks' PayPal, right? Is the name of the senior FBI agent who was the chief of investigations for the state of Nevada during the Vegas shooting. And so he also previously happened to serve as on FBI Director Robert Mueller's protective detail and as a firearms instructor in Pennsylvania. So we have a connection to Robert Mueller, which obviously I think is very important. I think he's one of the lizard people, usual suspects, that they always rely upon. And if anyone remembers the Mueller report during the Russiagate, oh my God, I just can't even take it anymore. And that was another thing.
Yeah, it makes you wonder with these Epstein things, like what the fuck's really going on there,
What kills me though is that I think I mentioned this earlier actually, as far as this reinforcing the notion to these ridiculous people who bought hook, line, and sinker the Russiagate context, or as far as the hoax itself being a legitimate narrative. In my mind, I legitimately believe that Putin is just one of the controlled, I think he's controlled opposition. I think he's a political asset of I think he was a part of the Future Global Leaders Program that, well, it wasn't called that at the time, but it evolved into the Future Global Leaders Program, and was it actually the original project and course that was being provided by the World Economic Forum. So that in itself has always led me down that very same path of the Chatham House, the Royal Institute of International Affairs, which, by the way, that connects back to Candace Owens and her husband. And which I'm like, okay, there's a Chatham House connection to Tavistock and the Royal Institute of International Affairs. This makes every single aspect of the influencer industrial complex. We should all just know we're surrounded by spooks, man. Good luck having conversations with people in good faith. You better have a decent ability to gauge a person's character going in, because otherwise you might find yourself backed into a corner in a strange position. That's all I really have to say. But
and I'm going to back you up into a corner in a strange position, Austin, next week on Already Dead at 9:30 p.m. Eastern on Tuesday. Austin, appreciate you joining in the show as always, Shy. We're going to go and let you go. I think it's about that time. I'm getting tired, and it is late, and I think we hit all the topics. So, Austin, if there's anything else you want to add, feel free. But let's get out of here. We'll hang out with the post show for a little bit. That's what you get if you're a patron for me or Austin. You get to hang out with us before and after the show and join the video calls if you'd like. But Austin, where can people find you at?
Hell yeah, buddy. You guys just check out the Underclass podcast. Definitely, if you have the ability to support me or the means to, the best place would be the Patreon, patreon.com/the Underclass podcast. Just came out with episode 35 of whatever this is. So go check it out if you haven't yet already. And beyond that, yeah, nothing but love to all of you. You know this. And there was that strange Al-Walid connection to Kushner, but we can get into it later, honestly.
Yeah. All right.
But anyway.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Love you.
But for those who love you too, but for those who want to support what I'm doing, leave a like, share, subscribe, comment, leave a 5-star review on iTunes or Spotify. You can find the show on YouTube, Rumble. You can find it on Twitter at @TowerGangJose. And even if you guys can't afford it, I know Austin said otherwise, but if you can't afford it, give it to me. So,
Wow.
Just kidding, obviously. But for those who do want to support, with money, the best way you can do that over at patreon.com/NoWayJose2020. The lowest level is $2. That shouldn't break the bank. And if you can't afford it, it's fine. It's only $2. You can do the other things. That helps out. But at the $2 level, you get access to early episodes. Or try to do about 2 or so behind the paywall any given week. Keep 4 behind there at any given time. You'll also get access to the RSS the ad-free RSS feed. You get access to the Telegram and the pre-show, post-show, and the video calls on this show right here, Already Dead, which is on Tuesdays at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. Give us a call, and I give a big shout out to the people the highest level on my Patreon and my sponsors. I give them a big shout out for all their support. And my previous co-host on Tower Gang at Learn Chode, also at Brigade D's, at ZOVRCK, at _Infinite Seal, Tim Tuttle, at Jolly Klebold, big fan of the show, Torme, at Wayne Tagless, 1-800-CAR for Kids, No Free Lunch, Jack, Mark Vestiful, and Jacob of the Biblical Anarchy Podcast. With that, guys, we're going to get out of here. We will see you all next week with another Already Dead. And see somebody asking their post show on Patreon. No, it's just there. You get the link to the... You get a link to hang out. It's not recorded. You just got to be there or not. So it is what it is. Be in the moment. If you're a patron for me or Austin, you get a link, and you get like a link for like a join the show link, and you can hang out in the back with us. This is also how we bring you up for the video calls too. But we're out of here. Love you all. See you guys next week. And obviously my daily show, 11 a.m. Eastern. You can see me there tomorrow. We'll see y'all.